Okay. So like before, I love maps and books, and I'm that person who always flips back to see, every time a new place is traveled. So that's what I did for Oath of Swords when I was reading it. I made notes about where they went, but unfortunately, there's only like one map on Google, okay? And it doesn't even say all the places. So I had to do my best and just kind of guess about from place to place. So this is just like my best guess, okay? Let's see how it goes. I didn't even realize this, but Navak and Hergrim are really close together. Bazel's from Hergrim, okay? He was sent to Navak as a, quote, envoy, alright, when he was a kid, but we'll just stay there. When all this stuff with Pharma goes down, he saves Pharma, and, the whole Harnack thing happens. There's some, political tension here, but we're going to skip all of that because this is just about the maps. Anyway, Prince Harnack was torturing Pharma when he broke in and saved her. And then, they tried to escape before anybody noticed. They went through the gates. They stopped by a little farm village that was somewhere around here, but it doesn't say specifically where. So we're just going to, assume it's nearby. We know that much. And he realizes that it's best to split up after they get to this little farm village or whatever. He's sending them off to Fir Hollow. Apparently it's close to Hergrim, though. He's going to have a guy pay them to just take them to his dad in Hergrim. I don't know. It's pretty close. After this, his BFF, Brandark, shows up. And they decide they're going to go maybe get a ride in Eskfalas and jump on his caravan guards. Not caravan people. On the way to Escon, they run into, about 8 riders that are from Prince Harnack trying to get back at him, but they defeat them. And then somewhere in between there is the little town of Waymeet. We don't know for sure where it's at, but it's in between. It's in between. They don't stay long at Waymeet because of the discrimination, against Herdani and all that. The guards, they're not rude about it, but they just suggest that they get a move on. Anyway, they just go on, and all of this seems a lot farther than it really is. Or either it just looks close because of the map. But either way, they finish up with Waymeet, and they continue on to Eskfalas, and they get caravan jobs working with Kilton. And they get a move on. They are moving on, and they have this drama with like Shirgan, him making fun of Brandark and then getting kicked out, and anyway, they just keep moving on. They're a day away from Hildarth. It's the capital of the Duchy of Moritz. They're pretty chill now because in between, Shirgan came back and attacked the caravan, and Bazel went all apeshit on them, raged out. And now nobody pretty much attacks them anymore because of that. But this is when Brandark starts to wonder what's going on with Bazel and his nightmares. They're trying to figure out if it's a sign from the gods or like wizards. They suddenly have a plan to do what's not expected and just to go back to Hergrim. So they plan to follow Kilton like as far as to Manholm, somewhere over here in the Empire of the Axe. And then they're going to say their goodbyes and then head off to go back to Hergrim. Now their plan is to follow him down to Riverside before they actually gonna leave. They think it's a good place to leave and head back. Meanwhile, this whole business with Harnack is going down, and we're not going to talk about that. But the wagons they roll on. They're heading off to Durham over here somewhere. And let's see, the Saram River flows around the western flank, which I suppose is this one. The snow mountains of the east wall beyond it, which would be these. The barony of Ernos is a peaceful and well-ruled nation that serves as a trading port, and that's their next stop. But only for one day before Kilton is putting them up on a boat. So yeah, they roll through from Hildarth to Durham, and they're getting on a boat. And then I don't really know which river it is. I'm going to guess it's this one. This is when that old man, Jothan Tarnasa, shows up, jumps on the boat, makes a big show about the gods, and then Bazel throws him overboard and lets him swim back to Durham. But it starts to make Brandark nervous because he and Bazel already talked about the god business and trying to stay out of it. So somewhere on the Morven River, which I believe is this, they go from Durham to Saramfall, which would be the capital of the Elvish kingdom of Saramantha. I'm surprised it's not on the map. I mean, all we can do is guess that it's somewhere around here. But I know it's on the river because it's still a port. So it's really close to here and before Riverside. It's beautiful at first sight. It's aesthetically pleasing to look at. Deeper in, Bazel realized that it's in a really moody, forlorn, and a brooding kind of air. The elves are beautiful in a way where it's like a picture that's frozen in time. And they talk about the curse of immortality, remembering what happened. So they just kind of withdrew. They don't really expand much on these places. They just pass through. Anyway, while they're hanging out in there, they were attacked by the Dog Brothers once, the assassins of Sharna, and they assumed they were all here for Kilthin. They didn't know that it was Harnack. But anyway, they keep going. They attack again at Trelith, Kingdom of Morven's main port. And after that, they travel the Farron River to Malgus, where they attack again. I don't know, I just know it's in between there and Riverside. But on the way, they start feeling bad about leaving Kilthin, because he's been so good to them and they actually feel like they belong there. But once they reach Riverside, Kilton he doesn't hold it against them. But Riverside is a grimy, unkempt town. It says the Forest of Charmy is to the south, but it's more like to the east, if you ask me. This is also when they find Zarantha in an alley one night, and then after saving her, they pick her up. They're trying to escort her back home. She's from Shirhan, which is near Alframa in the South Weald. It doesn't really say, but, we're going to assume it's right around here somewhere. And you know what she wants. And so does Bazel. And he feels a sense of foreboding. Like, he dreads when people are going to ask him to do something. And, I don't blame him for that. It gets kind of tiring after a while. So they decide to get on the road pretty quickly, in case they decide to come after them. They don't have a lot of coin, and they realize they're going to have to take a ferry across the Dreamwater, and then get supplies and maybe get a map in Core Keep. That's the plan, anyway. So now they're on the ferry, and they're heading towards the Grand Duchy of Corwin, right around here. Core Keep first. Tothis is with them, the sick guy. And Rekka the maid. This is when Zarantha's changed her clothes. She's moved into a more casual kind of wear, hiding her collar. Brandark sings on the ferry. And they also talk about how Alfroma is like 600 leagues from Riverside. That equivalates to about 2 months in travel time. That's insane. Just this little bit of amount. So they're prepared for a long trip. And poor Tothis is still deathly sick. So they do stop at Core Keep for supplies. And then they move on to the Duchy of Karchon, which is down here. The Lonely Karchon Hills, they call it. Near the top of the range, down the border between Corwin and Karchon. Yeah, on the border, at their supplies. Okay. All we know is they're somewhere in this area. They're trying to head over here and then come down. They're not going to cross the mountains. They're going to get close to them. You're not messing with any of this. Okay. But on the way, they find this cave, and they let a rando crazy woman in. It turned out to be Chesmera in disguise. Somewhere here. That's when they meet her. And that's when she straight up tells Brandark that he'll never be a bard. And that's one of the saddest parts. Then they move on to Ankar. And Karchon's capital. They're desperate to get Tothis out of the weather by now. They hang out at an inn here. And this is when the Dog Brothers attack again. This is when they start to realize that it's them they're after and not Kilton. On the 4th day of staying in Ankar, they cross over the Blackwater River into the Border Weald. And it's starting to get winterish now. This is when they start putting on a show for the guards, like, oh, she's just a maid, we're just taking her back. But it rings a bit weird to Bazel, but they just keep going because it's not their business. And then a big part of the book happens in Desanta, but it's not on the map at all either. All I can do is guess. All we know is it's somewhere after the Border Weald, and before the main part of the spear. That's when they stop at the inn. Zarantha is absconded. Rekka is almost killed. Bazel sneaks into the Duke's manor. They even leave Tothis behind here. And this is where they even discover the truth about Zarantha being a mage. But it's not on the map. So they're determined to bring her back home. To kill her first. Which is strange because that's where they were heading anyway, but we'll let it go. Without Tothis to slow him down, they were really booking it now. It's one of those times when Tomanak actually shows up and starts having to talk with Bazel, who's been avoiding him for the whole story. They're just in the middle of the Weald. Yeah. They mention a place called a road between Midrankim and Borakim, but I don't see any roads here. So anyway, while Bazel's thinking about Tomanak offer, Harnack is also doing his own thing. They say, oh, you have to go get him yourself. So he starts over here in Navik, and then he plans to take a boat down to like the Troll Garth in the Gulmore and to kind of intercept him before he makes it to where he's heading, which is Alfroma. So Bazel's following the trail of the kidnappers down into the dark water marshes, which I'm not sure if this are marshes or if this is marshes, but it's one of these. The hard winter ground actually makes it easier to travel over, the wet, moist ground. And this is also when Winsett appears. He's, materializes out of the air, apparently. They actually catch up to the people they've been following who has Zarantha. And it was brutally awesome the way that he put them down. I'll just say that. And again, Bazel has the idea to split up, to let them go back to either the academy or take her home. I don't really know, but just Bazel and Brandark have the idea to go down to the coast and then, hang west. And then he's like, where do we go from there? And he says from there, maybe we'll go to the Marfang Channel, which is over here, it looks like. Or we might try northwest along the Wild Wash Hordani, cutting north through the Leaf Dance Forest and head back the way we came. But that sounds like a pain to come all this way south, just turn around and go back all the way up north. So then after this, it goes pretty fast from here. Winsett and Zarantha leave. They go ahead and leave. And then while they're right around here, they're heading through the Shipwood. And this is when that huge demon attacks. It's a huge dramatic battle. And I figured this to be the climax of the book after this. Not much happens, but it happens fast. Let's just say that. While they're doing, after this, Harnack is still doing his thing. He's coming down. He says the South Hold is on the angle between this river and this river. So right around here somewhere. I don't know if it's further down or not, but his idea is to come up and intercept Bazel. After that, Bazel and Brandark, they run into this village over here on the south bank of this river. I don't know if it's in the forest or if it's even further or what. They don't really say the name of it. But that's when they save some villagers that are being taxed. And then they piss off a duke, who comes after them with a bunch of Hordani from the Wild Wash, who are like neighbors or something. They're related. I don't know. But anyway, it says at one point that Harnack is in the south of Sindark. So he's right around here somewhere. And he knows he's getting close to Bazel. He's 150 leagues from Darkwater, and he's 50 leagues from the coast. So it's right down here somewhere. The rest of the book takes place right around in between the forest and the coast. The huge battle when Harnack actually runs into Bazel, takes place in this forest. It goes by actually pretty quickly, like the span of a chapter. Yeah, so right around here is when that huge battle takes place. And then, Harnack just bites it. Harnack dies. Blah. And then Bazel and Brandark gets injured, seriously injured at first. So they keep coming on, and they come down south. They know they're close to Bordeluk, but their plan is to come over here. And then while they're hanging out on the coast, Bazel leaves Brandark and then runs and tries to steal a ship. Turns out to have some halflings on it, and they agree to take him on board. And that's where the story ends, right down here. So, it doesn't look like a big map, but for just this to be 600 leagues in 2 months, it must have been at least a year if they started here and then, come all the way around here, further down, through this huge empire, which is mostly desert, I assume, wildlands, through a huge forest on top of that, and down here. The rest of this hasn't been used yet, so I wonder... I'm interested in this Lake of Storms over here, and I want to see more of the forest stuff. We don't know anything about this Hordani. They get mentioned, though. And we never see anything about the Axe or, the Academy. We don't see much of the Sathoi. So I guess that's it. So that helped a lot. I'm going to try to keep this up, too, when I read the next one, if they go on a big adventure like this. This is so fun. Anyway, thank you for watching. I know it was a bit boring to hear, but it helps me sort out while I'm reading. And that's the main goal of this. the maps are there and we look at them, but I like to actually use them. I just wish we had a better map than this. Why has nobody made one yet? Why can't... Maybe I'll color this, just for fun, and we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much.